Good evening, and welcome to Doc and Sock and Doris. We're broadcasted live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. Mississippi is my hometown. Mississippi is a state with less than 3 million people. Half of those people are people of color, and half of that population happens to be African American, or more than half, quite frankly. So Mississippi is leading the way with diversity and inclusion and opportunities. We have the best climate in the world. The mighty Pearl River runs right down through our capital city. We have golf courses. We have great fishing. We have all of the things that you would want to move and relocate to Mississippi. You can have acres of land. This should be a rush to acquire land in Mississippi, the same way it was the rush to acquire land in Oklahoma and out west, when the government gave land to people that were willing to come into areas that had not been civilized, had not been taken over by Europeans. So we encourage you to move in there, and they gave you land. Now I want to retract the statement of civilized, for someone accused me to say that the Native Americans weren't civilized. Quite frankly, they were very, very civilized, in that all of their culture and all of their laws were based upon need and survival. There were no killing for sport. You killed only what you needed to survive. And they travel with the herds, so they travel with their food. They didn't try to make their food stay with them by building fences and having huge coolers and things of that nature. So they were able to roam the land as free spirits. Wonder what it must be like to be a really free spirit in America or in the world. Very few people ever achieve that peace and that tranquility and that freedom in their lifetime. They are slaves to something. And we're going to talk about some of those things that they are slaves to a little bit later on in this program. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to subscribe to the program. We want you to watch the shorts and the reels and the things that we upload. We want you to watch all of our playlists. You will be entertained and informed when you watch us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and search for We Believe Podcast, and you will see all of our shows there. Now, if you're watching us on Facebook, the staple of African Americans, especially those females, tend to be on Facebook more than any other platform. So if you're there and you're watching us on Facebook, then we want you to send us stars, share this program with your friends and family, and encourage others to watch our shows. If you're watching us on Instagram, that seems to be the home of my 20 to 35-year-olds. We get more views there on Instagram clips than we do any other platform, and we are grateful and appreciative of that. So if you continue watching us there, we encourage you to come watch the full video. Sometimes we play the entire video on Instagram, but not often. It's something that we'll talk about a little bit later on as to whether or not we want to expand our platform into Instagram in that way. But we appreciate those that are watching all of the clips, and hopefully you will come, as I said, and watch the full show. Now, if you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, then you'll see we're a little bit different. We're not a page. We are, in fact, a platform. And you can go there and find playlists. We're increasing our playlists every day to include the table that's published by NNPA, much like Black Stars Networks in their playlists and their lineup. You will also see that we have great shows on our own platform: sports, religion, hot topics, things of that nature. And if you stroll down a little bit lower, you will see that we have the internet radio. We Believe Internet Radio, WBLV. We believe, yes, we do. We believe here in Jackson, Mississippi, that we're going to make things right. And this podcast studio and that internet radio station is going to play a pivotal role in making that happen. Now, the latest edition of our network, which allows us to get our programs out to a greater audience than ever before, we've teamed with SVP out of TV out of Memphis, Tennessee. Deborah McClendon, the CEO and proprietor there, has been on our show a couple of times. She likes what she saw down here. She's launching Channel 98 right here in Jackson, Mississippi, with over 500,000 homes in the MSA, the Metropolitan Service Area. And so we welcome Debbie down here, and we welcome the opportunity to tune with her. So now you'll be able to watch Sock and Doc and Doris on Channel 98, Comcast. You know, many of our seniors did not make the migration over to streaming services. Some of them, just like radio, they just like to turn that knob and do what they've always done for the last 100 years. And so we get that. So we want to make sure that our content is in every place possible. So look forward to it on Apple, Roku, and all of the streaming services that you can go to and find our program. Now, as always, my co-host is in the studio, a man who needs no introduction. I always say that he's a dangerous man, but he is dangerous only because he is street smart and book smart, having been born on the Mississippi plantation and was fortunate enough to get off the plantation alive, unharmed, with all of his faculties and facilities, and his limbs and his heart seems to be intact because he's a very generous person. You know, I don't know what creates a generous person. I don't know if it's in his DNA or if it's in their life experiences. But it's always good to have this man right next to me on this show. Doc, how have you been?
Well, as usual, I've been fine, but I want to correct you on something here about this upbringing and this wonderful plantation habitat that I was in. Now, you said I left there with my limbs, arms and legs, but psychologically, sir, it messed me up. It messed me up. It had me thinking all the time about what I need to do about this situation, who I need to deal with, and who I need to really take care of, politically, socially, and otherwise. And what would happen to me if I would do some things that were necessary to promote that psychological freedom. And you know what I decided to do?
What's that?
Forget about all of that hostility that built up those 17 and a half years and say, I'm going to focus on renewing myself. I'm going to focus on creating a new El Henderson. And I'm not going to take this anymore, but I'm going to come back to the same spot and see what's happening in 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. And that's exactly what I did.
You went back?
Went back.
Like a pilgrimage?
Exactly right.
And what did you see?
I saw some change. I saw that some of the people that were on that plantation owned part of that plantation. And then I bought me a part of it. And say, I'm living on my plantation now.
You bought a part of the plantation?
That's right. My dad bought part of it first. And then I went down in that area and bought me a part of it, you see.
Landowner.
That's right. That's what you have to do. If folks don't treat you right, you find out how they got their chance to do you wrong or do you right, and you go and do the same thing. If they take your land and you can't take theirs, you have to buy it and then do some other things to get justice. But I'm not going to preach on that because we have some other things we need to talk about this evening. But that's what happens when you're abused and accused and denied. People expect you to sacrifice yourself for them and keep you in a state of mental negative activity.
Wow. We're going to come back to that. There's a lot in there that I need to unpack, that's for sure. But we're going to go to our other host, Doris. Doris is our Illinois, Chicago correspondent, and she's also domiciled on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And as always, Doris, it's good to have you on the program. You are a straight shooter. You call it like you see it, and sometimes it pinches, and sometimes, not often, it can comfort. But you are a person who somehow was raised in an environment which allowed you to grow up and be a free, spirited person that says what's on their mind. And I'm sure that it has caused you some problems during your early years, and maybe causing you some problems now. I don't know. But Doris, it's always good to have you on this show. How have you been?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And I like what Doc just said, renewing. And that's what I hope, that's what I'm all about. Renewing Black people and letting Black people know that, you know, we can do anything. And so I'm gonna make some corrections that I think we need to make. As I've said to you before, Black media is one of the most powerful things we have going now. And we have to tell the people the truth. We have to define our own narrative. So I'm not using people of color, minority, diversity, because I know today they're not talking about us. So I don't use those terminologies. I've been meaning to say too, I don't believe in this Women's History Month. I'm a woman every day. We're women every day. Black women are women every day, taking care of our families, going about our business, trying to do the best that we can, as we always have under this system that we live under. So that's going to be my role and my participation on this show, to renew our people, to define our own narrative, and say to our people consistently that we can do it. All of the things that we're talking about doing, we can do it. We've done it before. And one other thing, Black folks are native to this land before anyone. There were Black Native Americans, Black, that we never talk about. So we have to correct the history. We cannot continue to repeat the history that our slave master wants us to do, and now his children. So we have to show our people the truth, and that's what I'm all about.
Wonderful, wonderful. Engineer, could you cut that mic down a little bit? Let's see if it helps with that sound quality, just to bring that mic down. Doris, this is Super Tuesday.
Yes.
Now, Super Tuesday means that the president, the presidential nominee on the Republican ticket, could in fact wrap up the nomination. Nikki Haley has resigned. President Trump has demonstrated that he is the man of choice of the Republican Party. And President Biden has a sizable lead, and it looks as if he is going to secure the Democratic nomination, maybe today on Super Tuesday, if not shortly thereafter. And so we're going to have a rematch between Trump and Biden. Some say that Biden gave a very fiery speech and said it was one of his best speeches ever. And he demonstrated to the people that he's young enough. And he said that it's not about how old you are, it's about how old your ideas are. So tell us, how do you see this race between these two heavyweights shaping up in this election?
Well, I really do think it's going to end up being between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And no, it's not how old you are, but it is about the policies that you push. I'm about policies, and the governmental policies have been extremely detrimental to Black people. And if you're going to you're going to be supporting the Republicans, we must give them an agenda. If you're going to be supporting the Democrats, you must give them an agenda. See, I'm not hung up on these parties. I'm concerned about the policies that they push in these parties. And that's what Black people are going to have to start thinking about. The policies, not the personalities. Because I see two old white men I'm not going to be getting into arguments with black people about two old white men, but I will say, strongly suggest to us, whichever one it is, we've got to give them an agenda. We cannot talk about, I'm going to go red, I'm going to support the Republicans, and not give the Republicans an agenda. We cannot continue to allow the Democrats to think that they can just take our votes for granted, which is what they have done, which is what the Democratic Party has done to its most loyal supporters. They've taken us for granted. And I blame us because we've been going along with their narrative, going along with the program, and we have not been demanding anything from these people. So if we're going to stay in this political arena, we've got to do it differently. We cannot continue to stay on this path that we've been on for the last 65, 70 years.
Thank you. Doc, let's go to you. Two heavyweights, they're going to secure their party's nomination today, Super Tuesday. How do you see this race shaping up for the president of the most powerful country in the world between these two gentlemen?
Well, I think it's going to be a very contested race. It's going to be very hot. And they have already started working on dehumanizing each other. The Republicans made a move that almost guaranteed that there will be some flack in America after the Republicans win or lose. If they win, they're going to have a new nominee for the Supreme Court, a guy named Kerr, Robert K. Kerr. He's the one that said President Biden is an old man with a bad memory. Now, this guy is a Republican, and he is saying this to demean the president and make the voters think that he might be a good man, but he's just old, weak, and sick, and mentally insecure, and he can't perform. And that's going to help President Trump tremendously. Now, you will find later on in this campaign, later on in the months, they're going to put more and more emphasis on that, how sick he is. He better not slip again going up in his airplane. They're going to have that every day in the news, and Trump and his boys have made a strong effort to take over the country again. You know, he took over the Republican committee, made his daughter-in-law the co-chairman. They're controlling all the contributions, and you know he owes millions, but he is saying he's not going to use any of that money to pay off his legal fees. He says that. That's the problem, the way it's going to be. It's going to be tough and good. I'm just going to be very delighted to hear and see what's going on. Be a close race, Doc. Close.
Now, Doc, some say that blacks need a good kick in the butt. They need to be awakened, that the harder that the presidential person is on blacks, the better it'll be for blacks. And they think that the liberal Democratic Party has weakened the black constitution and that we don't fight anymore as hard as we should, that we are now a passive people that will take almost anything you give them. So would it be better for black people to have a staunch conservative in the White House?
Well, it would be just about the same as it is with a moderate Democrat. Black people are not going to get very much, no matter who is in the White House. They are taken for granted by the Republican Party and going to be ignored by the Democratic Party and ignored by the Republicans.
Wow.
So we are not significant anymore, because you all must know that black folks will have nothing to do with electing the president. Now, most people don't like to hear it, and I've been telling you from time to time that the President of the United States is elected by 538 individuals through the Electoral College. Every state has the equal number of electors based on their population. Mississippi will have 6. They have 4 in the House and 2 senators. So they will send 6 electors up there, and all the other states will do the same based on their senators and members in the House. they're going to get in a little group and decide who they're going to vote for president. And these people are appointed by the Republican and Democratic and corporate leaders in the United States, in the respective states, and they're going to fill out their little ballot and send it to the vice president, and he's going to read it and count it and say the electoral college has this many votes for Trump and this many for Joe Biden, and the one with the largest number going to win. 538 votes. The popular vote is just a scam they use to make people think that popular vote is important. Others say, and I was looking at some old notes, so well, the popular vote is important because that's going to determine how the electoral college vote. That is not necessarily true. Those rich guys and few women they're going to have in that group are looking out for their interests, and many of them want positions of responsibility when their president gets in office. So they will vote any way they want to vote. It's not illegal for them to switch if they choose to do so. And that's why many black people need to do as I have done today. I voted today for all state people that was running for running for the federal position, the members in the House and the Senate. I voted for those guys. And I put a new person down on that line under the name of the president. I put my name down as president.
You put what down?
Candidate for president. I put my name on that line. You know, under the line.
You're right in.
I'm a write-in. That's what I did. I always do that in a presidential election.
Wow. Doris, you hear the doctor. He had a lot to say there, and I want to get right back to you. Some believe that black folk will do better under a staunch conservative president, someone that inflicts more pain on them as a people to wake them up and make them come back together as a group and fight as what they need. What's your thought on that theory?
Well, first of all, I agree with everything Doc just said. And we must understand and remember, we've been voting for just maybe 60, 65 years. We can accomplish what we accomplished in this country by voting. So we've got to understand that. And as Doc said, the Electoral College will determine this. And I agree with him when he said, you vote for the people on the state and the local level. And that's what I do when it comes to the presidential race. I don't get all out of shape about this presidential race because I know how rigged it is. And as I just said, we did not accomplish everything that we've accomplished in this country by voting. We've only been voting since 1965. So we've got to not get caught up in all of this and stop doing the things that we've done in the past, and that's do for ourselves, build our own communities, pool our resources, and do what we need to do to take care of ourselves. And then we can, and I like what Dr. Claude Anderson always say, you can buy you a politician. You get the resource, you get the money, we come together and do what we need to do as a people. We can buy us a politician. They're about as cheap as a plug penny. So I vote, but I don't put all my emphasis on politics because there's so many other things that we need to be doing. We need to be trying to hold on to the gains that we made. I think about Mega. I think about Mr. Dahmer. I think about Dr. King. And these people lost so much. They gave themselves. They gave their life. They gave their lives to stand up for us. And what we're doing, everything that they fought for, we are literally giving it away. And when I say we, I'm talking about the political leadership. I'm talking about the religious leadership. I'm talking about the social leadership. We're giving those things away. So we've got to protect what we fought for all of these hundreds of years and to hold on to it. And we're not doing that. And that makes me angry because, as I said, these people suffered. Their families suffered. These children lost their parents at a very early age. fighting for black people. Well, black politicians now are fighting for themselves. They are not servants of the people. It's all about individualism, and we cannot win like that. And so we've got to go back and rethink, pick up this blueprint, study it, and rethink what we're doing today. And come, as I said, redefine, change the paradigm and redefine the narrative. If we don't, we're going to be in trouble, because we have the Democratic Party under Joe Biden recently. They have 8 million immigrants, illegal immigrants, have come into this country in the last 3 years. Immigration is still one of the greatest threats to black Americans. The jobs in the hotels, the restaurants, everything is custodial across the board. These people are taking jobs that once made us middle class people. Those jobs, we're losing those jobs because of this immigration issue. And I will say this: back in 1972, Nixon appointed a commission to study the impact of immigration on Americans. Rockefeller, he appointed him to be head of that commission. They came back, and the recommendation was that we should take care of American citizens first, and they specifically said back then that immigration was hurting black people more than anyone. Jimmy Carter did the same thing. He appointed a commission. The president of Notre Dame was head of that commission. They came back with the same recommendation that you should take care of black Americans, black citizens, black American citizens first, but black citizens were the ones who were being hurt the most. That was in 1972 and 1980, and the same thing applies today. It has gotten worse. We are being pushed out of the job market. So we're in trouble. And this happened in the Democratic Party. So I don't have any love for the Democratic Party. And I've been voting as a Democrat all of my life. But I'm thinking differently now.
Well, now we're getting ready to go to a break. There was a lot said there. We're going to come back and we're going to deal with some of those points that Doris made. She is certainly very strong-willed and strong-minded, and has taken a position. Part of our problem today is that we don't take positions. We don't stand for anything. And so Martin Luther King said that, if a man wasn't willing to give his life for what he believes in, then his life wasn't worth living in the beginning. I paraphrase. We're going to this commercial. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back. We're broadcasting live, and you're viewing Doc and Sock and Doris here in the We Believe Digital Broadcasting Studios. We're broadcasting on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Roku TV through SVP TV, channel 98. So you can see us on all of the traditional outlets. You can also get us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. Now, we're having a very, very difficult conversation, but it's a conversation that's got to be had, and it's one that is being discussed in black communities and black homes, It's not being discussed in black churches, but it's being discussed in black homes all through America. But now we want to bring it home. We want to focus on what is it that blacks in Mississippi want. They're different than what blacks in Tennessee might want. So, Doc, I'm going to go to you. What is it that Mississippi black folk want out of a president?
Well, from what I've been hearing for some time, they're looking for 4 or 5 different things. And if you watch the papers and listen to the news reports, you'll see this is basically what they are looking for. Along with what you think, they're looking for economic justice. They are looking for useful infrastructure systems. They want to have good, clean water, want to have fair utility rates. They want to have what we call good streets. And all of this is from the federal initiatives that black people are seeking, because they know they're not going to get it on the state level. They are looking for fair and equitable educational opportunities, not integration, because they know that's not going to work. And the state people in many of the various states are saying we're going to integrate education again in these states and eliminate the black schools as much as possible. And the other thing they're doing to what I call disparage education is to use public funds, our tax money, to promote private schools, charter schools, and parochial schools. That means less money to the public schools where 95% of the black people are. So now they're already underfunded, they're already miseducated, and that's why we are not going to be significantly used as a human being in America after December the 31st, 2029. And Doris was on point. Those immigrants going to be the new Negro in America.
Well, they don't have as much color as we got, but let's go to Doris. Doris, blacks in Mississippi, what is it that we want from whomever is president?
Well, blacks in Mississippi want the same things that whites in Mississippi have. They want good schools. They want an infrastructure that they need, that they should have, as they have in Madison County, so that they don't have to go through all these changes that they go through when there's a water problem. They want economic justice. They want political justice. They want criminal justice. They want the basic things that any other race of people or ethnic group of people want to just survive. That's what blacks want. And in Mississippi and Jackson, everybody needs to come together and fight what they're doing, what they want to do with the public institutions, like you would fight a rattlesnake. We cannot allow them to close historically black universities and colleges. They destroyed elementary schools. They destroyed the high schools. Now they want to destroy the colleges and universities, which means that our young people will not be getting the education on the college level that they should be getting. Because Mississippi State, Ole Miss, they're not going to allow our children to come into those schools. They're not going to do it, nor should we want to be there. Because when our young people go into these predominantly white universities, they catch hell. And to be perfectly honest, I've been giving this a lot of consideration. I think segregation is going to save us, especially in a state like Mississippi when you have a 40 or more % population. I'm saying to Jacksonians, stop leaving Jackson. That's a part of the white power structure's plan. They use crime Well, it's crime everywhere. They use crime, and they have you running out of Jackson, where you are the majority. You are 85% of the population. That protects you. They want you out of Jackson because they want that city back. You must demand that they fund public education. 95% of the children in this country, black children in particular, are in public schools. Let's go back to those segregated schools, but give us our resources. Give us the resources that you give to the white schools. We cannot allow them to take our tax dollars and set up the private schools and the parochial schools, which is all for the sole purpose of keeping their children away from black children. So to hell with your children. Take your children and go wherever you want to go. But leave our children alone. Give us the resources that we need to fund those schools. Let's hire educated black men and women to teach our children as we did in the past, and they fared much better. So segregation was not bad. It was the northern white liberal who made segregation so bad. Now the segregated parts, when you take black people's tax dollars and you fund your park and make it look better than the parks in the black community. Yes, we should have fought against that, and we did. But I am all for we're already segregated. The schools in America are just as segregated today as they were in 1954 because white people do not want their children in school with black children. White people do not want to educate black children to be over them, to learn so that they will be just as educated and can do the same things that their children do. They don't want that. They're never going to allow that to happen. So let's focus on us and what we need to do for ourselves and for our children so that they can be successful. So we must fight any of these policies and these laws that they come up with in the state of Mississippi and any place else to deny black children the basic human rights to a good education. It's up to us. We've done it before, and we can do it now. You may not have a whole lot of black politicians in that state legislature, but if those who are there, the young ones and the old ones could come together and raise hell, they could put a stop to that. And if it means boycotting Mississippi to get them to do it, then we take that route.
Yes. Now, great points you guys have made. And let me just add my little 2 cents in here for blacks in Mississippi. First thing that we want is as both parties have said, we want economic justice. We want to close this wealth gap. Poverty in Mississippi is too high in the African-American communities. We have to do something about that, and the federal government can do something about that. Mississippi is a welfare state, meaning that we send $1 to D.C. and we get $3 back. So we are not opposed to welfare. Yet, when Senator Roger Wicker says in his commercial that he voted to eliminate welfare and programs to the poor, it's some kind of an oxymoron. It's some kind of ridiculous statement when Mississippi, in fact, is a welfare state. So let's put the dollars where they belong. Washington sends dollars to Washington, but they don't get into the black community. I mean, they send dollars from Washington, but they don't get in the black community. Now let's move an economic engine into the 2nd Congressional District. Let's put an enterprise there. Let's eliminate taxes for blacks, no federal taxes for blacks in Mississippi, because we have to have a rebate there to try and fight this poverty. We sent, Doc, you say, we sent $300 million to Ukraine. We sent over $1 trillion to Ukraine, fighting for some principle, but yet we're not putting that money in Mississippi in the 2nd Congressional District, which is the poorest district in the country. So we can fix this thing if we will focus on that. Just like I believe the mayor of Jackson should move City Hall into South Jackson at the Metro Center in particular, I believe that the president can move an economic engine. He can put Bowen in the 2nd Congressional District if he said to them that if you want to continue to get these contracts that you've been getting from us for the last 200 years, then I want you to put a plant in the Delta, in the 2nd Congressional District. And guess what will happen?
It would happen overnight. And let me tell you why.
Go ahead.
Because they would give them all those incentives, tax breaks, infrastructure deals, and then they would give them millions of dollars to build new subdivisions for their workers. They would give them billions of dollars to build high schools, colleges, and university branches that are national and international in that area. And they would have so many sharp certification programs until it almost be disgraceful. The Delta region, even though you don't have a lot of college graduates there, they were there, but when they finish college at Jackson State, Ole Miss, and other places, they leave. But if they will do just what you mentioned, within 10 years, that'll be the go-to area for people throughout the world. They'll be headed to the Delta just like we were headed to Atlanta during the 70s and 80s. How we were headed to Florida, how we were headed out west to get that free land and so forth in the 1870s and before. That could happen. Congressman Thompson and the Republicans and Democrats can get together and make that happen if they choose to do so. Now, that would be a tall order, but I guarantee you it can happen because people that like money follow money. They'll do whatever they are told to get rich and maintain their richness.
You know they would. And instead of getting an economic engine like Bowen, we get casinos in the 2nd Congressional District. You probably got at least 4 casinos in the 2nd Congressional District. And if you take a look at that, that's got to be a strategy.
Of course it is.
Well, what is that strategy?
Well, that strategy is to keep people poor, broke, and mentally disturbed. If I wanted to maintain the status quo, that's what I would do. I wouldn't put any kind of educational opportunities in that district. I would keep as many as I can on welfare, keep them miseducated, keep them mentally unstable by making sure they continue to stay broke, give them just a little welfare so they're not starved to death like they're doing in Gaza, and the Palestinians, and give them just enough education where they can at least finish middle school, and then open up them jobs in the casinos and put lottery places everywhere and bingo houses and parties and just keep them poor. That is by design, and that's what you do when you want to have subjects. And they're doing the same thing in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi now has become a colony of the state legislature. I told you just a few minutes ago, they have decided now that a bill was passed by the Senate that they're going to take over Jackson's water system to include all the water systems and networks. And then they set up a capital regional utility authority where they just go and say, we're going to buy this system from Jackson and take the water and the waste system, the wastewater system, assets. So if you buy something from the city of Jackson, you're not going to give them a fair price for it. You're going to offer them something you don't want them to take, because the mayor and the council are not going to accept what they offer. Then they're going to say, these boys are hard to deal with. We're just going to go and take it through eminent domain.
Now, Doc.
And that is a bill that's going to probably be passed by the whole legislature.
Doris, let's go to you for a moment. On this blacks in Mississippi, the 2nd Congressional District has been the poorest congressional district in the country for a long, long time. What is it going to take to change the conditions in the 2nd Congressional District, which includes Jackson? Doris?
All of that is by design. They do not want black people to be economically independent. It's by design. It reminds me of what they're trying to do in Jackson is like what they did in what they did in South Africa and what is still going on in South Africa, an apartheid system. This is by design. Now you mentioned about keeping welfare. Well, what about corporate welfare? See, they play these political games and they use these terminologies, welfare. And when you hear the word welfare, the average person, the first thing they think about are black people. Well, what about these corporations that are getting all this money from the government? The banks, the car dealership, the housing industry. What about corporate welfare? You bail these people out. But when it comes to poor people, you want to malign them, you want to put them down, you want to say they're the worst people in the world. What about those gangsters up there in that Congress? There are politicians who go there making a basic salary when they start out, but then they come out millionaires. How are you coming out a millionaire? You are a corporate pimp of the people, using the people's tax dollars, using contracts, kickbacks. Those are the biggest criminals in the world up there in Washington, D.C. So they're not in a position to say a doggone thing about anyone. And the same with the Mississippi State Legislature. You're nothing but corporate pimps, racist white supremacy pimps who are descendants of the same people who enslaved us. They don't intend for us to be economically independent. They don't intend for us to be independent in any kind of way. So we have to come together and resist them. Resist with every fiber in our body. That is the only way we're going to survive. We've got to fight these people. We got to get on these Negro politicians and these Negro ministers who are going along with that game, because our children will not have a future if we don't turn this around. We've got to be radical. We've got to do some radical stuff. There's no time for playing around and being politically correct and trying to get along with white folks. The hell with them. You will never get along with them. They don't want you to get along. They want to dominate you. They want to control you. They want to keep us in the position that they're in. It's about white domination and control. And we better start understanding it for what it is so that we can prepare ourselves to fight these people, or we are going to go under.
Now, Doc,
Yes.
Doris makes some strong points. And the issue of racism and white supremacy is alive all over this world. We know it is there. Mm-hmm. But in this second congressional district that I'm talking about, it's 90% black. And blacks are not taking care of their own business. If we can't get our folk, the mayor of the city of Jackson, the board of supervisors, the airport authorities and the school boards that black folks control, if we can't get these people to make a difference in the black community economically, then what is the use, Doc?
I've been telling you this for at least 10 years, Mr. Socrates. These guys don't control the big money. When you have decision-making ability to determine where your money is going to be spent, your city usually prospers. I'll give you an example. I just told you that the city of Jackson is a colony of the state legislature. They knew if the city leaders had them billions and millions of dollars, they could hire the people to fix whatever need to be fixed. Now, another good example, they don't care who they whip hard when it comes to money. Now you find they had some serious problems with the fair a few years ago. A lot of them shooting down there. And Watson, the agriculture commissioner, he's over the fairgrounds. And he came up with a strategy and used all that money he was getting. And he had a great fair this past year. They didn't have any killing, no major disruptions. And the legislature said, now since we done colonized this city, we can't have this going on in Jackson. Say this ag commissioner got to lose his money. We're going to take his money and put it in the state coffers. And now he is looking at a situation that the mayor is in. And the ag commissioner, Watson, I believe his last name is Watson, he is fighting this bill. Say, I don't want you all taking $5 or $6 million away from me. I'm going to promote a strong economy for the city of Jackson. We're going to have about 200 million people come, $200 million every year coming during the fair week. So they taking his money. They want to take his money. They don't care who they hurt. To keep the Jackson in their hand, they're going to do whatever it takes to make this a colony. And you all are gone. You even going to move out of Jackson.
Where would I move to, Doc?
I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
I know where you're going, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay. Well, I have decided to stay and fight, Doc. I am heavily invested in Mississippi. My father was, his father was. I am going to carry on this struggle and this tradition. And so someone has to say that we're going to take the hit, we're going to take the arrow for the greater good. Somebody has got to make that statement, and our children need to see someone standing up saying something about what's wrong. And that's why it's just a privilege to have Doris and you on the program, because you are saying something about what you see, and it's important because they don't hear that anywhere else.
Well, you also proving it yourself. You left Mississippi for a while. You had business opportunities all over the place. You are back, and you got to understand that a lot of these young blacks are looking at you. They know what you're doing. You're a great economic developer in this area, and you used to be more so. But since we have some politicians not in your corner right now, things are not the same. But you are strong. You are here. And you say you're not leaving. I left and returned, not leaving either. I might, go and visit Africa when I get that dual citizenship that I'm working on. But I'm always going to come back to Mississippi.
Well, Doris, we're coming to the end of our program. We're talking about a lot of things that we got to fix. Your points about fighting racism and white supremacy are well taken. The point that we're not getting it done under black leadership requires further discussion, requires a strategy. Do you think it would help if we had some form of economic summit or some form of rally or some way of bringing black leaderships into a contract with black Mississippians? Can we do you think, Doris, that there's any way that we can get our elected officials to, in fact, sign a contract with black Mississippians, that we put in the contract the terms and conditions and the things that we want accomplished? And do you think that's remotely possible, Doris?
Oh, absolutely, it's possible. What I want us to do is bring the people together. See, what we must understand now, this white power structure has put in place these Negroes. And so what we find ourselves doing now, it was a time when we were really fighting white people. Now we're fighting black folks that they have put in place as buffers to keep us from moving forward. So I am more concerned about organizing the people. Whenever the people become organized and united, then that's going to send a message to whomever we choose to put up there to run for a political office. That once the people organize, because this is about, the government is for the people, by the people, of the people, however it goes. You know what I'm talking about. It is the people. The people can run the government. We determine who is going to be in these positions. So we need to organize and educate the people. The people are not educated about what's going on. We're going to have to say to black people, we can no longer look at voting for someone because that person is black. Because Jackson and all around the country, the black leadership, black political leadership is a classic example of the fact that we can no longer vote for someone because they are black, because they have failed us. So let's concentrate on organizing the people, organizing our young people, teaching our young people, bringing our young people into the fold. Get them involved because they're the future. I mean, we're talking about 75 and 80, 60, 50, 75 and 80-year-old people. We've got to bring the young people into the fold and guide them and teach them. Let's organize the people. As Stokely Carmichael used to say, organize, organize, organize. And it can be done. We're doing it on this show. We're organizing the people. We're teaching the people. We're telling the people the truth. People don't understand what's going on. So they're caught up in Biden, caught up in Trump. These people are friends. Donald Trump was a Democrat before he became a Republican. They go to social parties and entertain and interact with one another. This is what they do. I mean, they fight out here in public, but these people are friends. So we have got to organize and teach our people and educate our people and come up with a plan like what you and Doc are doing there in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson is the prime location for turning this around. You have the infrastructure there. You have the people there. You have exactly what you need to make Jackson what it should be. And we can fight these white people. They're not doing anything that they haven't done before. This story is not new. This is an old story. Get these Negroes out of our way. Well, and you can do that once you organize the people.
Doc, we're out of time. Boy, we need more time. I tell you, it's difficult to get sponsors for this program because the content pinches a lot.
That's what someone told me yesterday. I was talking to somebody. I said, man, I just want you to be a sponsor at a small rate. I use that old country word, a small rate.
Yeah.
Well, I hear what y'all talking about, man. I might lose some business. I said, no, you make more money because other people will buy from you.
Yeah.
But he said no. But
Yeah.
we're not going to give up.
No, we're
going
not.
to make it work, Doc.
We're out of time, and so what I want you to do is give us your closing remarks, and we'll go to Doris and wrap it up.
Well, folks, I want to tell you again, this is the Doc and Sock Show on WeBelieveDigital.com. And we are not geniuses, but we are smart enough not to tell you everything you need to know. So if you want to know about your salvation plan, how you can change your communities anywhere that you are from 25 to 45% in the population, the majority in that area, precinct, city, county, state, or whatever, you invite us over there and we'll tell you specifically how to put a plan together to dominate in certain areas of activity, economic development, education, and so on. And all you have to do is call us at 601-201-1957 or 1-800-492-5186 or email us at clu369@gmail.com, and we'll come to you and leave a plan with you. And if you are 30% or more in an area, you can dominate it. And it won't take no longer than 30, 60, 90 days or until the next election. It can happen.
Doris, let's get your closing remarks.
Well, this is our country. Let's claim it. We built it. Jackson is our city. Let's claim it. Don't leave Jackson. Stop moving out of Jackson. Move into Jackson. Because when you move out, that's exactly what the white power structure wants you to do, because they want Jackson. They realize how valuable and how viable Jackson is. Black folks, stay in Jackson. Fight for your city, for your children. It's a wonderful place to live. I can't think of a better place to raise young children. Jackson, Mississippi. So stop running out of Jackson, going to all these little country towns where white folks are leaving because you're moving out there. Stay in Jackson, build Jackson, and make Jackson the city that it can become, a model for the rest of the country.
You heard it. So goes Mississippi, so goes the world. Now, we want to make sure that you know that there's a Mississippi for Palestine Human Rights Rally. That's March 13th. That's tomorrow. Stop Israel Support Act is what it's called. Meet on the South Steps at 8:30 a.m. Rally starts at 9 a.m. at the Mississippi Capitol Building. And so that rally starts tomorrow, the Mississippi for Palestine Human Rights Rally. This rally will protest the Mississippi legislature just renewed a bill making it illegal to boycott Israel products. Let me say that again. The rally will protest the Mississippi legislature who just renewed a bill making it illegal to boycott Israeli products, although we can boycott any other American company. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of struggles and wars going on out here today, and it's going to require that people of like mind, people that are committed, people that understand that we deserve full first-class citizenship, as James Meredith dictated and said to us. What do we want? We want full first-class citizenship. And if you had that, if you were in a colorblind society, you wouldn't need all of the rest of these bills and all of these amendments to the Constitution. And none of those are enforceable anyway. And so, that's what we want. Now, we're out of time, but we really appreciate you watching, and we hope that you will join us again on Thursday evening as we continue this discussion from Doc, Doris, and Sock. Good evening. Good night.